For the first time since 1969, the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Runoffs returned to one of their historic homes, Daytona. Welcome to the 52nd SCCA Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb at Daytona International Speedway, brought to you by Mazda. The run for the medals begins now.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway, coverage of the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs. I'm Rick Benjamin. Dorsey Schrader is alongside. Hayward Wagner has our coverage today down on pit road. We turn our attentions, Dors, for the first time this weekend to open-wheel cars.
Yeah, and this should be a really interesting race because Formula Mazda is a spec class. You can make adjustments to your car, but they all weigh the same. They all have the same engine. They have the same tires and brakes and so forth. So it's who can get the most out of the car to be able to win this race, and that's going to be easier said than done.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And one of the things that you'll notice over the course of our coverage here this weekend, some of the fields don't have a lot of entrants. Formula Mazda, traditionally one of the biggest fields of entries in regional and national competition in the SCCA majors. Only 9 of these cars, though, have come to answer the call here today. These are the original Star Mazda chassis. This is a steel chassis car. These cars have been around for 20-some years, certainly in this configuration, but fast race cars around here. Hayward Wagner, despite the relatively slim starting lineup, we should have a plenty competitive race here.
This is going to be a great race, guys. 4 days of preparation all comes together for this race day. These guys in identical cars, we're going to see some drafting. It's going to be a great race.
All right, we will see what happens in Formula Mazda coming up here in just a couple of moments. And on pole is a driver who is favored to win honors here, according to our friends at Sports Car Magazine. Joseph Burton-HARRIS, he's from Birmingham, Alabama, runs in the Texas region. It's the 132 car. SI Partners is the sponsor of that Formula Mazda entry. And we have our Garmin Verb Fast Lap, and we will take you around this 3+ mile road course. Mike Anderson and Carson Weeder will start second and third. Alan McCallum and Jared Voorhees will end up 4th and 5th. John Entwistle from Daytona, New York, will start in the 6th position. Let's take you around Daytona International Speedway with our Garmin Verb Fast Lap. We'll show that to you. And you take a look at where this, now this camera is mounted probably on the airbox, I would imagine.
Up on the roll bar of the airbox, you see right there coming off the banking, totally flat, turn 1. You got to watch right through this corner. If you drop wheels there, you can get in big trouble. Very high speed through here. You're up into 4th gear on this straightaway. This corner in front of you, the slipperiest corner on the racetrack. It's the slowest also. International Horseshoe, they call it. Good runoff here. You see him come across the curb, use all the racetrack right there. You headed down to the fastest corner on the infield. It's called the kink. Left hand flat out across the curb with the left side tires. You don't want to lose it there. I've also done that. That's not a good spot. Hard braking here. You got to go this 9-degree right-hander. This falls off camber at the end, and that makes the car get a little loose right off here on the curb. And then you concentrate for this last corner on the infield. This is the corner leading onto the banking, so you want to exit here with the most speed you can possibly carry because it comes right up this banking. The banking actually saves you. And now you're on a dyno pole. You're just up in the top gear with your foot all the way to the floor, and you know you're running as hard as you can do. You see the draft coming on right now. The car in front of him actually pulling him along. He's going to pop out up here, get ready for the bus stop. It's a chicane built on the back straightaway to keep the speeds tolerable, if you want to call it that, with the tire issue. These cars would really be going fast without the chicane. You go down to 3rd gear, quick left, right flick, get the car straight, then back right, left, and you climb the bank for a second time. This is NASCAR turn 3. As we approach that, he'll run a low line. The lower you go to that yellow line on your left, the better you are, running less distance. You're in top gear. You're running whatever the engine can produce horsepower. You're just going as hard as you can go. You get onto the flat here. It starts to lose a little bit of banking as you head toward the tri-oval. And normally this is a place where you could get loose, but in this particular case up ahead is start-finish line. You see the checkered flag right there, and you've just done a lap at Daytona.
There you go. And we took that lap courtesy of Carson Weeder from Winter Haven, Florida, in the Weeder Motorsports Formula Mazda. He is in part of the Central Florida region of the SCCA. So Carson Weeder, 3rd quick qualifier earlier this week in qualifying sessions. You know, one of the things that I think makes the runoff so challenging for a lot of these drivers and teams, you can qualify over 4 days. Sometimes you may not get a lap in a certain day. You may elect not to run all 4 days, but you've got plenty of track time in the run-up to the actual racing.
You know, you look at your 4 days of qualifying, one might be early in the morning, one might be late in the afternoon with the hot sun. Usually that morning session is going to be faster than the hot sun session. So you try to concentrate your energies and all your effort to whatever you think is the best of those 4 different days that you're going to run and get your best time right there. You also need drafting help during that and so forth. If you have any kind of a mechanical issue during that time, you have to back it up with another. But you're right, there's a lot of time to get the job done.
Yeah, no question. You've got plenty of opportunities here. Everyone on sticker tires.
Yeah, I saw that.
Field rolling away, and Formula Mazda getting set to do battle here at Daytona International Speedway. Should be a very, very entertaining 50-mile race coming up, 40 minutes by time, as the field rolls away from the false grid, heading out onto pit road, getting set to go. Back downstairs to Hayward Wagner.
Guys, Formula Mazda spec cars, Mazda rotary power. This is a former Pro Series. This is a great way to get involved in amateur motorsports. Keep an eye on your pole sitter. This is a young guy who lives in Australia. His grandfather lives in Alabama. He comes to the United States to compete in SCCA events, competing today for his first national championship.
Wow. That is a great story. A long way to come to have an opportunity to have a national championship.
In a class of spec cars where you normally would say a 9-car field all within the same second, he's got a full second over second place. So that is an enormous lead advantage for the start. I would think if things go the way it should, he should be able to clean this field out pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So 3.56 miles is the distance here at Daytona International Speedway on this configuration of the road course with the bus stop on the backstretch. And we'll take a look at the starting lineup for you. That's Joseph Burton-Harris from Birmingham, Alabama on the 132. Your fast qualifier, the driver Hayward just referenced. Mike Anderson from Anza, California in the Hassapool Products machine. That's car number 1. That team has been around a long time, and Mike Anderson, one of the capable drivers in this category. Carson Weeder, who took us on our Garmin Verb fast lap around Daytona from Winter Haven, Florida, in the 28 car will line up in third spot, the Weeder Motorsports Formula Mazda. Outside the second row, Alan McCallum from Houston, Texas in the 19, part of the Houston region, the McCallum Racing entry, car number 19. Jared Voorhees in the 15 will start in the 5th position. He's from Creason, Texas, races in the Central Florida region, though, in the Mitchell Performance Formula Mazda. Starting 6th in the 06. It's John Entwistle from Katona, New York, races also in the Texas region in his Formula Mazda. 7th starter is Paul Rivaris from Aledo, Texas. Car number 5, that's a Texas region entry. Obviously, Texas region, one of the strongholds of Formula Mazda entries, because we've got a bulk of those cars at the back end of the field, and then your pole sitter, Burton-Harris, as well. We've got Bradley Yates from Fort Worth, Texas, in the 24. William Snyder from Southlake, Texas, in the 27, making up the 8th and 9th starters behind Riveras in the 5 car. So you've got a good field of these cars, grouped pretty tightly according to time. Dorsey Schrader, as we talked about at the top of our GT2 broadcast, qualifying times don't necessarily reflect how the race will go.
Now, you can't take it with a grain of salt, really, because you could get a pull off of another car, a big draft, and really improve your position time-wise, but you can't really do the same thing in the race every single lap. So we'll see how that works. But I have to think that Joseph Burton-Harris has probably got the funniest Birmingham, Alabama accent that anyone ever heard if he's from Australia.
Yeah, exactly. I'm guessing when they talk Alabama football in Birmingham, he's probably not thinking Alabama football. He's probably thinking a different kind of football completely, but that's okay. We're glad to have Joseph Burton-Harris with us. He is your fast qualifier in the SI Partners Sydney Sports GMG Formula Mazda. Safety car heading down into the bus stop.
And unlike our GT2 race that has run already that had 2 pace laps, these cars will only have 1. They don't have the same issues with tire pressure, tire temperature.
Yeah. Now, I will say, Doris, we have 9 cars that qualified. A 10th car has joined the field, and the chief steward can make that exception. If you come to the track and say, hey, we had a hardship, didn't have the ability to make a qualifying lap, if there's space in the field, you can allow them to run.
And it takes 10 cars to officiate a class to get points and to get be a national champion. 10 is the minimum amount of cars, so now we have a group.
Safety car with the lights out as the field hits the banking in turns 3 and 4 here at Daytona International Speedway. They'll come through the tri-oval and see the green flag, and we will be off and running in the Formula Mazda National Championship here at Daytona.
There's a white car in the top lane, third back, that's leaving a big gap, hoping that he can get a run. If I was the starter, I wouldn't really like that big of a gap back there. Let's see if he pulls it up a little bit. Now he's trying to get an advantage. Watch that car.
I would think if you're the official starter here, you would be hard-pressed to not turn the field loose in a place like Daytona. I mean, another pace lap here could be a real problem.
He's going to try to time that start, and you see the fourth place car back in that line now has already popped out.
3 wide as they come to the stripe. Burton-Harris on the bottom in that blue and yellow machine will take him down into turn 1 from the pole.
Oh, and a spin right at the back of the pack at the start. Lap 1, one car goes around. I don't know if he took anybody with him. There he is.
Everybody gets back straight, able to collect it. You've got plenty of room to do that.
That was close. You don't see, but again, everybody on sticker tires, and that was just one warm-up lap. But one of those cars got in trouble.
Carson Weeder, who took us on our Garmin fast lap, up to second spot here in the early going, putting lots of pressure on Burton-Harris. He was up alongside Burton-Harris briefly.
If they can run tidy, Burton-Harris and him in second place, if they can run really tidy laps, they can pull themselves away from this field if they don't mess with one another in the corner. And we'll see if that's going to work or not.
Yeah, Weeder putting pressure on the race leader already. Tried a couple of different lines to try to move by. He'd like to lead the draft.
I think he would, yeah. He says, we're going to do this. I'd like to be the guy up front.
Mike Anderson in the 11 car, sitting in third. Anderson, a veteran of this category.
These cars will get a really big pull on the straightaway, too. There's no doubt the draft really comes into effect here.
And for those of you who may not be familiar with Formula Mazda, these are rotary-powered race cars.
Absolutely. Got the Wankel engine, the little rotary 13B, as they call it. And it's a reliable, high-revving power plant. Doesn't have a lot of torque, but it does make good horsepower.
On the back straightaway, super stretch, as they call it, here at Daytona International Speedway. Yeah, Weeder closing right in as he works his way down. You see the braking markers there. That's the 2 mark heading to the bus stop.
You get a good pull off these 2 long straightaways, no doubt about it. See the gap right there? It looks like Burton-Harris able to get off the corners better, opens that lead, but watch the draft come into play. The second place will literally be sucked right up into the back of that forward car. And the trick is to time the pass to happen where you can pop out and go cleanly by. And here it comes. You can see right now the second car moving much faster. He's going to go high side, yeah.
Weeder on the outside, and the white, black, and red machine able to use the draft and take the lead.
And Burton-Harris very wisely tucks in behind to pick up the remaining little bit of that draft. A little squirrely down here in the brakes on both of them.
It's a little early to suggest this, Dorsey Schrader, but I want to bring it up now since we're just in the first couple of laps here. Seeing that, you could very well have a slingshot at the checkered flag.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is a perfect setup for it. I mean, you can see how much that second place car gets pulled right up into the back. It's all in timing, though. You have to make it to where the pass happens right at the right time.
Yeah, no question about it. Mike Anderson, who had been third, that's the kind of orange car with the yellow wing you see there. He's all the way been shuffled back to 5th position now.
Well, these guys fighting side by side through the corner like that, and they're doing it again right here, is killing them to the leader. You'll see the lead 2 guys going to pull away, like I said earlier on, and they're starting to drive off into the distance because these 3 are racing hard right now.
Nothing better if you're up front than to look in your mirror and see a big battle behind you, because it gives you an opportunity to stretch it out.
Yeah, that 3rd place battle has cost all 3 of those cars lap time and speed to the front 2. You see those 2 working pretty neatly together.
John Entwistle in the 06, and Anderson, we talked about how he had gotten shuffled out of 5th back to 3rd. There's the draft in play.
Yeah.
Anderson back up to 3rd spot right now, and he's getting some help there from Entwistle in the 06.
I think they might be pushing. They are, in fact, pushing them one another right now, trying to catch back up to that lead, too.
Up front, meantime, Burton-Harris has recaptured the lead in the 132 from Carson Wheaton.
Chief Stewart has said that he will allow bump drafting to happen, which we just saw right there, as long as one of the 2 cars doesn't affect the other one, either by getting it loose or passing it as a result of getting it loose or knocking it into the grass, that he'll allow it to happen.
Yeah.
That would have increased their speed pretty significantly. As you can see, they've left everybody behind them by doing that.
Racing through 3 and 4 here at Daytona, NASCAR 3 and 4 as it's called, on the 2.5-mile oval, and down through the tri-oval. This is Mike Anderson in the 11, back to 3rd position.
And there's
Breck Harris in the 0-0 up into 4th. And yes, Burton-Harris able to get back around Wheaton. Those 2 have swapped the lead a couple of times. Now let's point out to you, as we take a look at timing and scoring. The 4th place car, the 00, I thought I saw 00 on the wing. That's the car that was added to the field at the back. So Breck Harris did not qualify in that 00 car, and he's moved up already to 4th. He was the driver who went 3 wide coming to the trial hole on the start, and had not heard anything yet from SCCA officials about a possible jumping of the start and a penalty there. So Harris taking advantage, it looks like, to move up to 4th. But there's your race leader, Joseph Burton-Harris, in the 132. He is out in front and looking pretty strong right now as he pulls out to a good advantage over Carson Weeder in the 28.
And for Carson Weeder, he's going to tidy his car up a little bit. He just got a little loose coming off that corner. He doesn't want to fall any further back than this. These cars don't open as big a wall of air as a sedan type car does. So he'll, in effect, lose the draft here pretty shortly if he doesn't get back in position. Let's see if he gets any advantage here. He should.
And Doris, these cars, of course, as we mentioned, these Formula Mazda machines have run professionally in the Pro Series. These were the original Star Mazda chassis. Formula Mazda continues as an SCCA national and regional category. These cars have been around an awfully long time. Generally, these teams know how to handle these rotary motors, these Mazda 13B rotaries. They are not noted for a long life. I mean, I could see a scenario here where, you know, oil seals are a problem with these engines.
Yeah, they run a lot of RPM out of these engines, and as a result of that, those tip seals do go bad. They limit them. They don't let them just run free, but they still, you know, but compared to piston engines, these things run 10,000 RPM, so they're spinning them pretty good.
Take a look a little further back. Mike Anderson, 3rd spot there in the 11. Breck Harris in the 00. Now that's the driver we mentioned. SCCA officials can do this. We only had 9 cars who took time this week to qualify. Harris added to the field, came in late, and is able to start in 10th position at the back of the field. Stewart's discretion. And he has moved up smartly from that 10th starting spot up into 4th now, pressuring Mike Anderson in the orange #1 car who runs 3rd.
It is strange that all the cars in this race, except for 2, come out of Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is necessarily.
Yeah, the Texas region, clearly a stronghold for Formula Mazda competition. So we take our hats off to those. Is that Speedy Dry or was that
I don't know. It was something coming out of that car. And if it was Speedy Dry, it's okay, but it did look a bit suspect.
That's the Hassapools machine, the #1. We mentioned they've been doing this, that team has, for a long time in Formula Mazda. Ran Star Mazda for a long time.
Now, there's something coming out.
There's damage. Yeah,
he's got the whole front end knocked in. That's radiator fluid, so we're going to have a real slippery racetrack.
Trying to get a handle on which car number that is as we look back in the field.
Yeah, he's laying down a bunch of fluid.
I wonder if that could be the 15. I'm trying to get a look at the number on the wing end plate there.
If he hadn't rearranged his nose so much.
Yeah, well, you know. Well, if nothing else, the driver with that nose cone damage will not be able to keep pace.
No.
In a place like this where you're so aero-dependent, there's no chance.
He'll be overheated, and I'll tell you, this next lap could be pretty dicey with all that fluid out on the racetrack surface. He's done pretty much a whole lap. There it is, 19. It's a 19 car that had the problem.
Alan McCallum in the 19, and he was up in 5th earlier. As we watch some of the other competitors here in Formula Mazda navigate the bus stop. That's the 5 car. That's the car of Paul Rivaris. He's back in 8th position. Back up front, meantime, it continues to be Joseph Burton-Harris, stretching the advantage now over Carson Weeder as we work 4 laps complete.
And Burton-Harris has almost got himself away where the draft is not going to be as much of a fact. Got the big Kiwi emblem on the tail of the car.
Yep, sure does. Burton-Harris opening up a significant advantage now.
Ooh,
1 second last time by.
White car behind this #1 got in a little trouble there, so that gathered it back up, got in too deep into that corner.
That's the 00. Yeah, that's Breck Harris, who tagged the field here today. Did not qualify in that car, but was allowed to start at the back since we had a short field of Formula Mazdas.
These cars, like you said, Rick, have been around quite a long, long time. And they, you know, normally you would undergo development work, but it's a spec class. You can't do anything to it. It is what it is.
It's setup and driving skill, really. And these chassis have been around for such a long time that the owners, the teams, certainly know what it takes.
Absolutely.
Now, your shock settings and things like that, for a place like Daytona, though, I mean, again, there is some regional racing that's done here at Daytona. I would think there have been a lot of guesswork.
No, I mean, they'll trim the cars as much with the wings and so forth. They'll take as much off of it as they can to get the speed on the straightaway here. But shock settings and so forth, you know, with the high load, the artificial load of the banking, and the high load because you're going so fast anyway, you know, you're going to have to run a pretty good spring race, you know, to keep the car up off the ground.
There's the 28 car running toward the back of the field. Take a look at where they are. Oh, that's Weeder, I'm sorry, the 28 running in second spot. Joseph Burton-Harris continues to lead in the 132. Weeder second there in the black, white, and red 28 into the banking. Mike Anderson continuing third in the 1. Harris fourth in the 00. Jared Voorhees in the 15, shown fifth right now, ahead of Alan McKellen in the 19 car, who runs along in sixth as Burton-Harris continues to stretch it out.
Yeah, he's now lost the draft, so our second place car is really going to start falling back a little bit more, and sooner or later we'll come into the third place car is catching him up, so there'll be a race for second here shortly. I think Burton-Harris has done exactly what he needed to do. He's got himself just enough clear of second place that he can just run off good laps.
You've talked a couple of times here today, Dorsey Schrader, about tidying your car up as a driver. What does that mean?
Well, you know, you see these guys sliding the car, and certainly we saw the second place car sliding around a little bit. You know, that sliding scrubs off speed, and these cars are momentum type cars. They need to stay on, you know, they got to carry a lot of corner speed. That slide takes the corner speed away, and it takes it a while to get back up to speed, you know, to recover from that. So, you know, straight lines and just keeping the car, as our leader does, very, very tidy, you know, pays off with a better lap time.
Historically, as I recall, these Formula Mazdas have run on a bias ply tire.
Yeah, I didn't look at the tire brand on the things, but you know, the tires you don't usually have to worry on that issue on. Everybody was on stickers. We saw that when they rolled out. So these are all new tires. Shouldn't be an issue to these cars. Are pretty lightweight.
But you would slide more on these bias ply tires, no question about that.
Well, when you go out on stickers, two things happen. They get hotter than they normally would. The second time that you go out, they haven't heat cycled. The second time they'll run considerably cooler than if you go out on stickers like that. And they are prone to being slippery at first until they come in and they cure the compound. Right now, though, they should be in really good shape.
Joseph Burton-Harris here continuing to lead in the 132, the blue and yellow machine. Races out of Birmingham, Alabama, but an Aussie native up here living with a family member in the Birmingham area. Second spot, Carson Weeder in the 28, who gave us our Garmin Verb fast lap around Daytona International Speedway's 3.5-mile road course. And there's Mike Anderson in the 1, the Hassapools entry. Anderson dropping back to 5th early, but was able to gather himself back up and get into contention, and at the moment holding down a podium spot.
And Anderson is our defending champion from last year as well, so he's already tasted the victory, being the national champion.
It's one of those things where you look at it and you think, okay, last year we did this out at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in California, one of the bucket list tracks for a lot of competitors in the SCCA, and a very different racetrack. You know, 2.2 miles, 10 turns, no high banks, one fairly fast section of the front straightaway uphill and down into turns 1 and 2 there, but nothing like Daytona.
No, and Mike is a native of California. That's why the number 1 number plate, of course, designating him being the national champion, the reigning champ. He's a California native, so that was probably on his turf. Now he's down here in Florida, different situation.
No change among the top 3. Burton-Harris continues to lead. Weeder is second. Mike Anderson in third as Formula Mazda continues. 6 laps of 14 are complete here at Daytona International Speedway. We'll come right back with more coverage of Formula Mazda and the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb.
The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license took 2 tries. Bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band. Loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize, family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, coverage of the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, with Dorsey Schrader, Ibert Benjamin, Hayward Wagner with our coverage on pit road. Second of our events here, an opening day of racing, the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, running at the road course here at Daytona International Speedway. First time we've had these runoffs at Daytona since 1969, more than 40 years ago. And a new chapter in SCCA Runoffs competition unfolding here this weekend. Let's get an update from pit road. Hayward Wagner.
Guys, Alan McCallum came in just a few minutes ago with a broken front nose on his Formula Mazda car. I spoke with him. A lot of Daytona, a lot of talk is the high banks, but the other parts of the track are very flat. Traffic cones are used to define those corners. He got into one of those in the bus stop, broke the nose of the car, came in. They actually tried to put the spare nose of your leader, BURTON-HARRIS, on the car. There was too much structural damage, so he is out.
Wow. Tough break for Alan McCallum, who was a contender for a top 5 spot here.
I thought possibly he got into the back of another car, but he hit actually a cone. You know, those cones are just made out of rubber. You don't think much about it, but they probably weigh 2 pounds, 3 pounds, and at 100 miles an hour, they can do a lot of damage.
No question about that. So a tough break for Alan McCallum there. When Hayward talks about structural damage, as we watch our leader, Joseph BURTON-HARRIS, continuing to put laps on the board and just continuing to hit his marks beautifully. Speaking of tiny race cars, and drivers doing a great job here today. But when you do structural damage, these nose cones there's mounting points on the tub of the car.
Yeah, there's a nose frame inside that, and that obviously got damaged as well. And replacing the nose is easy. You just take it off and slip it on the new. But if that frame is damaged, then it's day over.
Yeah, absolutely. So tough break for Alan McCallum, who falls by the wayside here after running into a cone out on the bus stop on the backside of the racetrack. So McCallum, who started 4th, will not see the checkered flag here today. BURTON-HARRIS continues to lead by almost 5 seconds over Carson Weeder, who moved into 2nd after qualifying 3rd. Mike Anderson, who qualified 2nd, got shuffled on the start by Weeder. Anderson, though, continues to run 3rd. Breck Harris out of Hurst, Texas. We talked about all the Texas-based entries in Formula Mazda. Harris tagging the field today after not posting a qualifying lap, coming from 10th up to 4th right now. He's another one of those Texas entries in front of Jared Voorhees in the 15, who runs 5th. He's out of Crescent, Texas. And that is your top 5 in Formula Mazda at this point. Just past halfway, working lap number 9 of 14. This is your 2nd place car, Weeder. How frustrating is it, Dorsey, as a guy who's raced these cars or similar cars for a long, long time? You've done that. When you are sitting in a top position, you're 2nd or 3rd or 4th maybe in a long race, you can't get close to the leader.
Yeah, right now he's lost a draft. You know, BURTON-HARRIS is gone, so now what he's got to worry about is in his rearview mirror right now. 3rd place is Mike Anderson, who is not that far back. He's actually right at the point where he might start picking up some draft help. And so for Carson Weeder, he's going to have to now start being conservative toward 2nd place, and he wants to keep that 2nd. And he's going to have company here shortly.
We hear drivers talk a lot of times, and I know you've said this to me over the years, you look around and you look for a different line. You might search out a better line. Can you do that at Daytona, or is it hard to do?
Well, you see it right there, those two, there are different ways of doing this racetrack, no doubt about it. If you're having trouble with your car in one particular area of the racetrack, you know, you try to make the car go someplace better, get a better line. One thing with Carson Weeder, I'm real surprised, he's running pretty high up on the banking on the oval, and that's a long way around. I don't know why he hasn't dropped down to the apron, cut the distance in half, you know, and go that way.
Same ground on the inside.
Yeah, at least try it, you know. But he's running his line up pretty high up on that banking. You're going a long way.
These are not high horsepower race cars. These Formula Mazdas. Terminal speeds at the speed trap has start finish about 145 to 150. everybody under 150 at this point. The fastest time we've seen Weeder 148.5 down in that section of the racetrack. So, yeah, I would think it might pay off to run the bottom here.
It would. You know, I'll tell the guys that haven't run ovals before, one of the things you do to see how your car's set up is when you go up on the oval is release the steering wheel. Just, you know, let go of it and see where the car tracks. Where does it want to go on the banking? Well, if it will run at the bottom, you're going a lot less distance than if it will run at the top. And if it runs down there freely, that's where you're going to run fastest. So I'm somewhat surprised.
Mike Anderson, heeding your advice here.
Anderson now working the low line.
But he seems to have a different problem. I was going to mention last time we saw Mike Anderson, who runs third, he looks like he may be catching Weeder just a little bit here. The gap about 2.1 seconds last time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He was just working his way into catching some draft help.
Yeah.
And now he's also decided to run a lower line around the racetrack. It's paying off dividends. See, right now he didn't go up to the wall. He's running down pretty low. He could even be half a car width lower than that if he wanted to be.
And in a lower horsepower car like this, a momentum race car, as you talked about it, if you're trying to climb the banking, that's going to suck the momentum out of the car.
It does, and you're then running a longer distance as well. So it's a double negative.
As we watch Anderson trying to get close to Weeder, this would be a battle for second if Anderson can reel him in here in the last few laps. We're putting lap number 10 on the board, and there's Weeder again up by the wall.
All the way to the top. Now, if your car was understeering really badly or pushing or wouldn't want to turn, then you would want to move up the racetrack. You'd want to get up by that wall and turn less distance. That's one thing that he could be working on.
So second to third now in the same camera shot. So this is a battle developing in the late stages. See what happens, though, here. I watched Anderson come into the right-hander here, and it didn't happen that time. He's got a little brake lock up.
I've seen that, too. Wisps of smoke off the tires when he gets in a hard brake zone. It does it down here on the corner coming back on the banking 9 down there. It does that as well. But he has gained half the distance in one lap. So I would think this time when we go up to the bank, of course, he's running on a low line and the other car's up high, so he's not getting the draft advantage. You might want to, there's our second place car dropping off considerably off left side of the racetrack. And that's going to hurt him.
There you go. There you go. As we watch this battle, Anderson now with a great move, getting right up alongside.
And it wasn't any draft to that.
Right up alongside Wheaton and taking him for second spot. Mike Anderson moving into second position now in the one car.
Weeder smartly dropped into the draft from behind. He knew that he'd lost the momentum.
He's going to try to draft back by as they head to the bus stop, and he does.
Yep, he was really smart to do that. When he made his mistake dropping the wheels, he knew he didn't have the momentum that he needed. So when the pass occurred, he dropped right back in, got the toe, and then popped off on the pass. But it's going to go away right here.
Mike Anderson in that
bright
red one car up behind Carson Weeder for second spot on the 28. Great battle here in the late stages of Formula Mazda.
Weeder's found the bottom finally. I don't know why he hadn't tried that earlier, but now he's down there in the bottom, making life difficult.
And Anderson will try to pop around the outside and take second back.
There was a mistake by Anderson right there. He didn't stay in the draft long enough, and he popped out too early. You see, he didn't have the momentum. Now he'll try the inside.
Side by side for second spot in Formula Mazda as we put lap number 11 on the board, and Anderson on the inside in one. Can Wheaton do the over-under move and get back by him?
Both guys a little squirrely down there. Got in nice and deep. Good battle here for second place.
Anderson in the one car continues to hang on. The defending national champion out of California. Carson Weeder in third now, and Anderson pulls him by a couple of car lengths.
Through that high-speed kink.
A right-hander here.
Hard braking. This is a tougher corner than it looks like. You want to get on the throttle really early there, but if you do, you end up wagging the tail at the exit usually.
And it's a changing radius corner. It
loses banking in the wrong direction as the further you go.
And Anderson now looks like he's closed the deal and has started to pull away from Carson Weeder.
I don't know if Weeder's car looks pretty unstable down there in the infield. Wiggles around a lot more than the other car. Meanwhile, our leader is just cruising on like it was a Sunday afternoon drive.
Really?
Even though it's only Friday.
Joseph Burton-Harris with his calendar not collected properly, maybe, but strong run for Burton-Harris out of Birmingham, Alabama, by way of Sydney, Australia. 8.8 seconds to the good now over Anderson last time by. who is your second place runner in car number 1. So Mike Anderson doing a great job after qualifying in second spot, fading to third, was able to gather himself up and make a run and get to second spot. And Carson Weeder now hoping he can get close as we put lap number 12 of 14 on the board here in Formula Mazda.
Still got the draft working. You see, he's made up a lot of ground right there, so he's close enough to get the advantage of being behind. This is where I see the car really squirrely. I don't know why, if it's just the way he's got it set up, but the infield part of the racetrack, that car does not look very stable.
Yeah. Anderson in the orange machine, the 1 car running second. Carson Weeder in that red, white, and black 28 car in third. Your 4th place car, Breck Harris in the 00. And Harris looked like he was going to become part of this battle for a while, but he has fallen back quite a bit. That's a lapped car next in line behind the 28 here of Weeder.
It could also be the 28. Carson Weeder is just overdriving the corner a little bit, and that's why the car's loose. I mean, he might just be trying that hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to back off to be fast again. You have to slow down. There, a prime example right there. He just twisted the car around that corner, got loose, loses the momentum, and you see it. He's still close enough though. He'll get a pull off that car in front of him. He just needs it. Same thing I always say. He needs to tidy it up a little bit. You know, just slow down the entry speed just a little bit, keep the car straighter longer.
And that, for a young driver to learn, you know, go slower to go faster. That's one of the toughest parts of the sport.
Yeah, well, you know, we always say that in the corner. Slow in is fast out. Fast in is no out.
Fast in is in the wall sometimes.
Yeah, it can be. You know, you've got to keep the car under you and drive it to the limit that the car has. If you overdrive the entry, then you're going to end up losing speed, scrubbing off speed in the middle of the corner.
Laps winding down in Formula Mazda here at Daytona International Speedway, and Weeder now closing in on Anderson, trying to draft around him and slingshot him for second, and he's going to get it done.
Got a great run out of the bus stop and just carried that momentum, stayed in the draft long enough. Now he needs to close that door. There you go.
So a change for second spot. Carson Weeder takes the spot back from Mike Anderson.
Yeah, he really nailed the bus stop exit. And boy, all that momentum in the draft help, it just right on by.
Final lap of the Formula Mazda battle. 14 laps, 50 miles.
I don't know if I want to lead on the final lap.
Yeah, and this could be Carson Weeder, a sitting duck, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But he's got to do trial. He's got to time it right. You know, he's going to have to stay in that draft longer. And I'm sure he's going to be forced to pass on the outside.
This is for second spot. Weeder in the 28 took the spot back from Mike Anderson last time around. Your race leader continues to be Joseph Burton-Harris, the pick by Sports Car Magazine to win the gold medal in Formula Mazda. He was the pole qualifier and has led virtually all the way here this morning. First day of action at Daytona International Speedway. Now back up on the banking in turns 1 and 2 of the 2.5-mile oval here at Daytona. We'll see what Mike Anderson, the defending national champion, can do with the draft here.
Carson Weeder went up the racetrack to try to break the draft. He went up by the wall. Now he's back down on the bottom again, utilizing the short way around. So he's thinking about the draft situation. He knows what's coming.
Down toward the bus stop one final time in Formula Mazda. Anderson closes in.
All comes down to this series of corners right here. Be clean through this corner. And they both look pretty good there.
Onto the banking one last time. Weeder goes up the racetrack a little more than I would have thought. Anderson does the same, trying to stay in his tire tracks. Weeder looks like he's got this one in hand. We'll see if Anderson can close in.
He's coming.
Joseph Burton-Harris will come through the tri-oval and pick up the checkered flag. Your Formula Mazda winner today is Burton-Harris. And the battle for second.
No, not going to get it.
Carson Weeder, able to come back and reestablish second, and runner-up is the finish for Carson Weeder. Mike Anderson comes home in third in the 1 car. Weeder in the 28 finishes second in Formula Mazda. Great drive by Carson Weeder to use that draft.
Put a good show on for that second place. He had nothing for this man up front. Joseph Burton-Harris, great job of driving. He got away from him, but that second place battle, man, I thought they were going to come right across there side by side.
Looked like Mike Anderson had done a great job. He had done a great job to get second back, and I thought he was headed to the house with a second place finish in his pocket. But shows you what I know. Carson Weeder able to come back on the next to last lap, take second back, and then hold off Anderson all the way home. So Joseph Burton-Harris, who races out of Birmingham, Alabama by way of Australia, is your winner of the SCCA's National Championship in Formula Mazda. Carson Weeder gets second, almost 10 seconds back, but a good job to take the measure of the defending national champ Mike Anderson in the 1 car, who ends up in 3rd. Breck Harris comes home 4th. Jarrett Voorhees in the 15 is 5th. And John Entwistle in the 08 is credited with 6th today in Formula Mazda. So we will hear from our top 3 finishers on pit road in just a couple of moments. Hayward Wagner will talk to those drivers as they come home and meet their crews here on pit lane. As you see the 132 and Joseph Burton-Harris.
Your top 3 right there, all waving at one another, congratulating Burton-Harris on a great drive.
Outstanding run for Burton-Harris, certainly winning the pole and leading flag to flag for all intents and purposes here today at Daytona International Speedway.
Really did a great job of keeping the car. He did everything he had to do. Once he got that lead and started building that lead, he just kept the car straight and clean and able to drive away. And there's a big, furious battle going on behind him, which didn't, of course, let them catch him anymore.
So the field coasting around Daytona's high banks, coming back toward pit road.
Coasting along at about 120. It looks slow at 120 around here.
Exactly.
It's so big.
Carson Wheaton, who ended up taking 2nd away from Mike Anderson, first car to get to pit lane after the checkered flag. Burton-Harris slowing way down to wave at Mike Anderson and kind of accept the honors of the corner workers around this 3.5-mile layout as the Formula Mazda field comes to a stop on pit lane here at Daytona International Speedway. Your 4th place finisher, Breck Harris, in the white 00 car. Remember Harris's story, added to the field, Chief Steward's option, failing to take a qualifying lap earlier this week, but Harris here wanting to run, able to start in 10th, comes home 4th.
And it was a good thing that they did put him in the field, because that made it a class. You have to have 10 cars, and we were 1 short there, and so this is nice to see.
Absolutely the case. Drivers congratulating each other. Joseph Burton-Harris, your new national champion in Formula Mazda. Hayward Wagner ready to talk to our race winner.
Joseph Burton-Harris getting the helmet taken off, already been congratulated by one of your competitors. I'll let you get that. We're going to give him a hand here and see if we can get him.
Get that radio unplugged at the back of the helmet there, or the tether strap,
all right,
actually
here,
the Hans device.
Yeah,
here we go. Now we're getting there. So the Australian by way of Alabama getting a little bit of help here. Talk to me about this drive. You had a really good battle the first couple of laps, and then you just were able to make some distance on the field.
Yeah, well, we were solid all year. I mean, this Texas Autosport team and Moses Smith Racing has given me just the perfect car all year, but so I knew we were in qualifying, we had a good run, and I thought hopefully we'll be able to break the pack, you know, but after that first lap with battle with Carson, I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to break him, but you know, this car just came on so strong after those first couple laps, and it was really just me putting my head down and lap after lap making the same marks and getting away.
Talk to me a little bit about this class. A bunch of guys threw cars and trailers in Texas and drove out here to make sure this class could run for a national championship. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's amazing the amount of support and the amount of people that came down. You know, Texas isn't a short drive from here. You know, it was it was great to have all these people here. You know, we've had a fun week, and I just will never forget it.
Well, congratulations to you. You get to take a victory lap. We're going to find Carson Weeder. Where's Carson? Carson, we had a conversation in the hotel lobby a couple of days ago about this event. You were feeling real good things about things then, sitting on the pole. This kid showed up and had a heck of a drive. What did you see in this race?
Well, you know, it's quite a bit different than what we saw last year, huh? This place really adds a different dynamic to the whole strategy, and I've been fortunate enough. I've been working with Joseph all year over at the Texas Autosport squad, and he's been putting in stellar performances all year, and he really deserves this win. Congratulations, Joseph. I drove my heart out, you know, and we had a good car, and you know, I was able to take advantage of a couple little mistakes that Carson made, and I certainly wasn't backing up. The times were there, but man, somebody lit a fire under that kid's seat. So
talk to me a little bit about the battle that you and Mike Anderson had those last couple of laps. I'm sorry, Mike Anderson. You and Carson Weeder had those last couple of laps. you guys really put on a great show here on the high banks.
Yeah, and you know that's the great thing about this class, the Formula Mazda Spec class. You know, really can kind of showcase the driving and put on some really good shows. And you know, I absolutely would not be here without the support and love of all my family and friends, and my son and my wife. They're home watching right now. They got up early, and Hassel Pool Chemicals, White Flyer, Goodyear, Perfect Pedal, Gary and Mary Gibson, Dan Erickson, my crew chief, Larry Nash, my mom and dad, Dwayne and Judy.
Oh, a big congratulations to you, to all those folks. Congratulations on 2 Runoffs podiums in a row. We need to find Carson Weeder real quick. Where'd Carson Weeder go? Carson Weeder, second place finisher. A great battle there for you. Started third, moved up to second. Talk to me through those last couple of laps when you and Mike were battling things out.
Well, I made a couple mistakes, and I gave him some room to come back. And I knew I was working on trying to get first, but I was like, at this point, I'm trying to get second, and I got to work hard for it. So I just got in the draft, and I could get past him, and just tried to hold it. It was getting slick out there, so I was just trying my best to stay in.
How cool is it for you as a Florida guy to stand on the podium here at the SCCA Runoffs at Daytona International Speedway?
Well, it's huge because I got a lot of people here supporting me. A lot of people came, a lot of people watching online and stuff. So it's just big to have all these people here supporting me and be able to get up there on the podium for them.
All right, folks, we'll look for a good party tonight in the Formula Mazda paddock. Guys, back to you in the booth.
All right, nicely done. Thank you very much, Hayward. Congratulations to Joseph Burton-Harris, young driver. Talked about Moses Smith Racing. Now, Moses, a guy who's driven the Hassel Pool-sponsored car for a long time in Star Mazda. Moses, multiple race winner and champion there, preparing these cars now for some of these young drivers.
And that's great. I mean, to be able to go back to your country and have a national championship under your belt. You know, the camaraderie that you heard right there of the guys coming from Texas to come up, make a full field of cars to race with. You know, that's SCCA the whole way. It's a brethren of really good folks.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. Enjoyed hearing from Carson Weeder. Mike Anderson kind of choked up about it there, frankly. I wanted to thank his family for getting up early on the West Coast to watch our coverage here today at SCCA.com. And we thank all of you who are watching as well, and trust that you'll be with us as much as you can be over these next couple of days. We have a full day's worth of coverage today, tomorrow, and then Sunday to wrap things up, as well as we will crown national champions in more than 24 categories of SCCA club racing here at Daytona International Speedway. It's been a great battle, certainly, and I'll tell you, Joseph Burton-Harris, youngster, put on a clinic driving that 132 car.
Yeah, he did. It's hard to outrun a spec class group, you know, a field of guys. If it wasn't for the fact that there was such a furious battle going on back there for second place, it probably would have been different, but great job today.
No question about that. Good field of 10 Formula Mazdas coming to the stripe. That 00, Breck Harris, that's the white car on the outside. He was able to tag the field. Look at the move he makes here. Nearly gets up into the top 3. And then we had the battle between Carson Weeder, Joseph Burton-Harris. Burton-Harris giving up the lead just briefly, able to snatch it back in the infield. This was the battle for second late in the race.
Yeah, and that was the pass that would do the damage, if you will. Really good draft and pop out, and by he went.
And Joseph Burton-Harris building that lead 10 seconds at the checkered flag as he earns gold medal honors here at Daytona International Speedway. So we congratulate Joseph Burton-Harris, racing in the States out of Birmingham, Alabama, but out of Australia originally, and glad to have him over here competing in Formula Mazda. Young driver who looks like he's got possibly a great future in the sport.
Yep, I'd say he does, and I bet that's the strangest accent in Birmingham.
Absolutely the case, and we congratulate all those who came to battle for the Formula Mazda Championship here in these 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs. For Dorsey Schrader, Hayward Wagner, I'm Rick Benjamin, congratulating our champion in Formula Mazda, Joseph Burton-Harris.
The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license, took 2 tries, bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band, loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize, family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.